World of Tanks T22 Med. This vehicle is the T22 Medium in World of Tanks. I'm making this video because it is in the Winter Auction 2024. This vehicle used to be one of the most overpowered tanks in the game when they had the Rampage mode and the Domination mode. However, today it's just an average tank. There's nothing that's really special about this tank other than the V-shaped hull. The hull is pretty nice design. But otherwise, everything about this tank, there's nothing special about it whatsoever. It's average, and it's more on the low average, not a high average. Meaning that there's a lot of tanks that have similar specs, and there's another group, another half, that have better specs that are like a higher average. Has 4 crew members. The commander performs the duties of the radio operator. The average penetration is 264. That is average for a tier 10 medium tank. The damage is 320. That's not high. It's kind of low. The gun loading is 7.19. That is average for tier 10 medium. Aim time is 2.01. That is kind of average, but it's actually pretty decent. 2.0 is pretty good aim time, but unfortunately for tier 10 medium tanks, it's just kind of average. The dispersion is 0.36, nothing special about that. It is kind of average. 0.33 would be really good. 0.38 would be kind of not so good. 0.36 is a decent number. The hull armor, 100 on the bottom, 80, just average for tier 10 medium tank. The turret armor is 230, 170, and 140. Unfortunately, it's kind of average for tier 10. Then you got the top speed of 55, which is pretty much average. Most tier 10 medium tanks are 55. And then you've got the view range and the signal range. The view range is a little bit of low. A lot of vehicles have 410 or 420, and there's nothing special about the concealment or camo values. So I'm going to do a comparison here. You're going to see some premium tanks, some gift tanks, some tech tree tanks. The gold rounds are heat rounds, 330. You hit configure, you go over here and you see it's 330 average penetration. That is pretty much average for tier 10 medium tanks. Virtually all of them are going to be 330. So if I look at this one and I look at the gold rounds, it's 330. It's the same exact thing. And this is probably 264. So there's going to be tanks that have higher penetration, which means this is no longer an overpowered vehicle. This was very rare in the game. Very few people had them. So as you go down the line, if you look at the average damage, you see this is 320. 320 is pretty much the lowest that you're going to see. So this is in the bottom half for damage. Penetration 264, 264, 268, 64, 68, 68, 61 is just kind of average going across. I see it 252. This does not include the autoloaders. The autoloaders are going to have lower penetration, but 264 is just average. And with the gold rounds, it's the same thing. It's just kind of average. There's a few vehicles that have higher penetration. Gun loading is 7. You got 6, 8.9, 8, 4, 6, 7, 7, 9, 8, 7, 6, 11, 9, 7, 6, 8. So it's a good, the 7.19 is actually pretty good compared to other tier 10 medium vehicles, but it still makes it, it's a good average. The aim time is 201. 201 is pretty good, but it's still average. As you can see, you got 192. 163 is really good, and 153 is really good aim time. One of the best in the game. I think 1.3 might be the best. So you got 201, 201, 201, 24, 211, 201, 22, 211, 25, 192, 173, 22, 192, 201, 18, 28, 192. 201 is kind of average. The dispersion is 0.36. It's decent, but it's kind of average. You got 0.36, 0.35. 0.28 is amazing. That means it's always going to hit. That's why people play it now. 0.32 is good, 3.4 is good, 3.1, 3.4, 3.2. These numbers are all better. Everything, here's a 0.38. 0.38 is not so great. 0.38 is not so great. Here's a 3.8. So basically, there were 3 or 4 tanks that had worse dispersion. 0.36 is okay, but it's not that great. So in tier 10 medium tanks, most of them do better for aim time. No, that was dispersion. DPM 2600. We got 3200, not so far off. Hit points, we've got 1900, which is basically everybody. The top is 2150. So the hull, we got 100, 80, 80. I see 110, 70, 93, 110, 121, 40, 135, 150, 80, 135, 160, 114, 110, 152, 80, 110. So 110 shows up often. And this hull armor is 100, which makes it average. And the weaker armor is going to give it a better top speed, but it's just going to be average. So there are some vehicles that have weaker hull armor, and there's some that have better ones, such as the E50M. This is kind of in the middle. So then we got the turret armor at 230. 170 on the side looks really good, and 140 in the rear. Not only is it good, but it showed up as the highest for the tanks that I selected, which are tier 10 mediums minus most or all of the autoloaders. There might be a few other vehicles not included. So the 230, we got 228, 254, 240, 254, 275, 250, 260, 275, 240, 300, 343, which is amazing. 240, 254, 230, 222, which means that 230 is on the low side. And it is still kind of average because you really don't get that much better. Let's say 250 is a little bit better, or 240. So 230 is not so bad. And also you got to take into account the shape of the turret. So 230 is kind of average. And the 170 on the side obviously is pretty good. And it's only good because there's a lot of vehicles with only 40 or 70, but it's not as good as the top vehicles. The top vehicles have 180, etc. So the side armor is actually pretty decent. Suspension repair time, it looks like they're all 1203. So then we get into the top speed 55. They're just about all 55. That means it's average. And of course, the Leopard 1 is 70. So the Leopard 1, nobody used to play the Leopard 1. It wasn't a great tank. It had very weak armor. They buffed it. It still has weak armor, which gives it the higher speed. They buffed it. And now lots of people play it. Now it's a popular vehicle. So then we've got the camo and concealment. It's at 15. That's just kind of average. A lot of these vehicles are hovering around 15. Then you got the view range is 400, which is on the low side. You got a lot of 400s, a lot of 410s, which means it's a low average. Signal range is 850. Really nothing special. So that's basically it. And the signal range only benefits you on maps such as Frontline, which no longer is available with Tier 10, and Grand Battles it will help, or rare situations in a game. So that means the T22 Medium is just an average Tier 10 vehicle. Not only is it just an average Tier 10 medium tank, but it's hard to find one that has lower performance. It's kind of a low average. Is it worth a lot of money? I'm just going to be honest with you. I strongly think that you should avoid it There's conditions that you will buy it, but I'm going to tell you that put your money towards a good tier 10 medium tank. You're not going to be able to buy anything in the store. Wait for another auction because there are going to be good tanks coming after the 1022 medium. They're not going to put the good one first. They're going to try to milk the money out of the T22 to motivate people to put the cash down for the good one, to buy both. Otherwise, you're going to get lower bids on the T22. They put a good one first. Terms of tech tree, got the Progetto 65. You got to pay 6 million silver. I would rather play a Progetto 65 than a T22 medium. There's people that like the E50M. I don't know about a lot of these vehicles here. I'm not a specialist on medium tanks. So I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe you'd enjoy one of these other vehicles, but definitely strongly look in your garage and look at the Progetto 65. It's got the same penetration and it should be an autoloader. 4 shells in the magazine, same penetration with the gold rounds. I highly recommend that Progetto. Consider putting your money towards that. I'm sorry that my internet is slow. I'm just going to look at the armor to see how the armor compares, because the armor is kind of a big deal. The armor is not going to be as good. It's that turret armor. Well, the armor in general is not going to be as good. But in terms of enjoyment, I would definitely go with that. In terms of like a popular vehicle, the Leopard one is very popular. And it looks like the specs here. Look at that penetration of 278. That's pretty good. Almost every vehicle in the game can be penetrated with the 278. With the 264, you're going to have difficulty penetrating many tier 10 vehicles, especially the heavy tanks. So it's going to be a little bit tough with that. I don't know much about these other vehicles. The Centurion sounds like a popular vehicle. The E50, there's people that like it. I don't know about the Concept 5. I haven't worked up to it yet. The Caro 45T might be an autoloader. You're not going to be able to get it. Okay, so that's my opinion. The other reason why you would get it is if you're heavily invested in the Russian tech tree. You want a medium tank that gives you some sort of a benefit, such as crew training. Might not give you extra silver, and it might not give you extra free EXP, but it should give you the extra crew training. You might want to then consider this if you are a medium tank player, or you really love the Russian tech tree. I would definitely consider it. Otherwise, go with the Progetto. That's my opinion. If you have any questions or comments, please post below and watch your bidding. Don't bid the opening amount. Bid 10% over if you're not that interested in it. Don't bid 50% over. Just 10% over and you are likely to win it. Other people are going to know that this tank isn't worth buying. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I am the owner of cheapbooks.com, which is a website for buying textbooks and books. I don't actually sell the books. I just show other websites, and you can go and see which companies have the books worldwide, any language, any country. And I am promoting a new piece of software called HoneyGain. It's a software that you run, you share your bandwidth. It's a VPN, but you're selling your bandwidth to other people that need VPN services. And there's people who make $50 a month or $150 a month in Europe and North America. If you're outside of those countries, you might not make anything. People have been running it for years, and people say that they have been paid and they have been making money, and they make money consistently. Unfortunately, where I live in the Philippines, doesn't seem to pay as much. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, please post below.